That's a different kind of YouTube channel.
We're straight. So this is the Learn to Grow You moment. This is Doria Larrier, and I am on the Totem. I am on a houseboat with my college mate, Behan. Hey! We're out in Larchmont, New York. So right now, we're talking about homeschooling on the sea. So Behan's family, they homeschool their 3 children on the ocean. They're docking into New York for the time. You will see a video log of theirs soon. You will see their channel called what?
Sailing Totem.
Sailing Totem. Look them up. And so now we're talking about how do they do this? Go.
For us, homeschooling has very much been an evolution.
Wait. And we're Camels.
Connecticut College.
Go Camels. Okay.
Homeschooling for us is an evolution that when we started, it was something that we followed much more of a what's called unschooling, and that worked really well for the kids, but I needed something with a little more structure to reduce my own stress. So finding a balance between working with their learning and being able to best supply it has always been a bit of a tightrope to walk, right? But maybe that's learning in general for all of us, and we just had to encounter it in a more hands-on way by being directly responsible, hands-on for our kids' education. We honestly have never followed a single curriculum, so even when we've skewed...
We call it eclectic.
Okay, so we're eclectic, and we try to make a lot of our learning happen in an organic way. Oh, look at this gorgeous pineapple. Based on the places that we're in. Special Brooklyn pineapple. I hear the pineapple plants there are extra large.
Yes.
And taking advantage of the fact that we've been traveling literally around the world for the last 8 years, we've been crazy. We've been able to use the world as our classroom and have the chance to say, okay, the next 6 months we're going to be in these countries. What should we anticipate? What should we think about? What should we read and to better appreciate them when we get there?
Okay, so let me pause. So do you then say, do you use the digital platform and say, let's just look up, let's say a couple of history lecturers or people giving a lecture on the country or the area? Do you also then say, let's look at the economics, let's look at the agriculture? So then literally the world is at your doorstep via a cable.
Yeah.
And then you go visit and you sort of, you say, okay, this is true or this is counter, so let's then find the real truth other than what is listed in a book, because the history will only tell
it's one point of view,
one story, right? Okay. And then experiencing it is something else. So how do you approach that?
Right. So kind of 3 main ways, but actually a lot of our learning happens, well, that channel is very difficult for us because we can't count on internet access, and especially for video, it's often impossible for us to watch video. So some of the things that we rely on is things that we can use while we're offline, since that's most of the time, and crash course videos, which are spectacular and great for history, and Khan Academy, which is grown so far beyond math. Those are videos that we can save to access after we're disconnected from the internet, and they're both phenomenal resources. And then Wikipedia, which is actually, it's interesting as a resource. You say everything is a point of view, right? Right. And it's managed. It's crowdsourced knowledge.
So, but then with Wikipedia and Khan Academy, that you need your Wi-Fi, or I think I heard MiFi. So then you can only get that at certain points of the day, or you have to be closer to the land to get it, or.
So what we do is we take advantage of those windows of time where we have great internet access, and we save them to a drive on the boat so that we can watch them later when we don't have internet access.
So you download it onto your desktop or so. Okay.
Instead of live streaming.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because otherwise, truly, we wouldn't be able to.
So then let me pause right there. So then what's our problem? Why don't we know? Why don't we know what we should know in order to live? If they have limited access, because they are literally in the Fiji Islands, in the Greek Isles, how come they children know more than we know? I don't get that. And we have Wi-Fi all the time? Like, I don't get that. Okay, so moving forward, would you say that your children, if, let's say I took them right now and I placed them into a quote-unquote stereotypical classroom, how would they fare? And I'm not talking about socialization, because socialization at this stage of the game, don't worry about it. If you know what you need to know, socialization can really come later. Because they're not, you know, aggressive. They're very pleasant children. I've interacted with them. My children, they've already been hoisted up the mast. Did I say that right? Right. Okay. Hoisted up the mast. They've been swinging on the side of the boat. But how do you think they would fare in terms of, let's say, constructing essays, arguing points, let's say maybe a debate on a political point of view, Republicans versus Democrats right now in the race, or speaking about classical, whatever you deem to be classical literature, because you know I have an issue about that, and like, you know, mathematics. How do you think they would fare?
I think it would be a mixed bag, honestly, because there are areas in which their skills are going to be much more highly developed than their peers, and there are areas where they haven't had as much practice, where they've had less opportunity compared to their peers are in some of the more structured ways. We don't do tests. They haven't taken tests. So
good. No test anxiety. I love it. I love it. Good.
I kind of think anxiety should be optional, but being able to sit down and power through in a short window of time something intense is still an important life skill. Our kids wouldn't do as well with that. That's something they have to learn. As our oldest, Niall, looks towards college and taking SAT, ACT this fall, he's been working with some of the prep books and trying to figure out what that's going to be like, but that sitting down and taking a time test is going to be entirely new. For other aspects, I'm really not so concerned about them for the most part. It's been beholden on my husband and I to try to give the right materials in the right direction. But for example, structuring essays. The kids write a lot, fairly voluminously, and they read voraciously. And I feel that
I'll be checking your grammar. That's what I do. You know, that's what I do.
They're articulate, and a lot of that is because we've given them very free rein with reading. And I think the more you read, the better you write. Where they need channeling is to understand different approaches to structuring writing for essays and for making arguments and things like that.
But because we are camels and we have a great liberal arts education, our children will get that just because they are in our presence. Right, my child? Crickets. Okay, that's fine.
And to that point, right? So we feel that then a big part of education are those discussions around the dinner table. So it means
which is called what down there?
The main salon, or the main cabin, or the
main
salon.
Cabin.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's processing what we saw that day, maybe, or getting ready for what we're going to see ahead.
Like those fish that we saw jumping.
They were just big fish chasing little fish right next to the boat.
Right. Okay. Food chain.
Circle of life.
Absolutely. Or why we will not be throwing the rinds of our cantaloupe into the ocean. We won't be doing that. Okay.
But then, it's incumbent on us to teach our kids those skills to be able to carry an argument, to have a point, and defend it, and making that a part of our everyday life as much as possible.
Excellent. Thank you for that seed moment. We'll take a pause for now, and we will come back later.
We're at 8:40.
Good. I was actually really trying to stay into the 10 minutes. Now I'm going to delete some other stuff so that I can have like a part 2. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. You have no idea. To see the fruit of your womb. Because when we were in college, we were like,
pretty
what?
Cool. I know. It all felt so far away, huh?
What? Oh my goodness. My bread is sticking out my pocket. Oh, thank you. I was like, I brought bread?
Your bread. Yeah, the bread. I haven't heard that word for money in a very long time.
Oh, it was still recording.
Oh, sorry.
Not a problem.